Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to J Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. That's right. We're into the sixth month of June, or sixth month of the year, I should say. And man, that means we're almost to the halfway point. I hope you all are getting stuff done on your projects. I hope you are able to order parts and get them quickly and get them on your cars and try to enjoy them while summer is here. Of course, it's beneficial to get all this work done during the winter months when it's cold and you don't want to be outside anyway, but take advantage of good weather if you have it and try to get work done on your projects. All right, last week I wasn't here. Y'all knew that. It was Memorial weekend, Memorial Day weekend, I should say, and we went with some friends of ours and a couple of our kids went over to the lake, hung out for the weekend, and in the past I have stressed out over getting back here on that Monday night to put together the live stream. And I had mentioned, I think on the my comments on YouTube, I said I'm probably not going to make it. And when we got over to the lake and we were enjoying ourselves and having a good time and hanging out and enjoying food and company, and I told my wife, I said, we're not going back. We're not going to make it, and I'm not going to stress out over getting there and trying to get everything ready and blah blah blah. So I enjoyed myself, she enjoyed herself, and we had a great time. Hope you all enjoyed your weekend as well, and let's not forget why we celebrate Memorial Weekend. That is not about veterans. That is about people who gave their lives for this country. And so that's what that's about. So I know people sometimes get confused over the two holidays, but that's the difference. Veterans Day is for people who served and maybe didn't serve during wartime or anything like that. But Memorial Day is specifically about people who passed away serving our country. And I've recently been watching, just to tie into that, I've been watching some specials on, Band of Brothers. We all have seen, probably most of us, if not all of us, have seen that. And I never saw Band of Brothers Pacific. Man, let me tell you, the fortitude of those guys to know what they were going into and still step off that boat and try to attack those islands and all that sort of thing. Just amazing. It seems like there's, we've lost so many of those people over the years, just to getting old and passing away. And that's a generation that you can't give them enough credit for what they did for this country. So anyway, glad you're all here. If you're new to my live stream, well, we try to talk about classic cars. And when I say classic, I talk about cars about 55 up until about 78, 79, somewhere in that range. That's become my classic bracket, let's say. But if you have something you want to bring up, something you want to talk about, a problem that you're having, by all means, ask the question, and we'll see if we can help you out and give you an answer. I try to answer those questions. A lot of times I may have a good answer, but if I don't, I generally have a great group of people in the chat box who are always eager with information. And they may have run into the same situation. So if you participate, you get a bell. That's right. Free of charge. Okay. So let's see who's in here tonight. And the first one in is Rick Stevenson. Good evening, Rick. Glad you're here. There's your bell. And that's usually the first sign for me. Rick has helped me out with giving me coffee before. So I'm going to salute him with some coffee. It's good coffee. Really good. Okay. We're going to move on. Terry Keithley. Good evening, Monday all. Please hit the thumbs up and like button for Barry. Thank you kindly, Terry, Betty, and the cats. Thank you, Terry. Glad you're here. Dave Tyson. First Dave sighting. Good evening all. Evening, Dave. Steve Reed. Hey, hello, Barry, and everyone. Hope all is well. Likewise, Steve. Glad you're here. And Robert is checking in front of Craftsman. Let me know if you are bored, Robert. maybe if you want to participate, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. Just let me know. Glad you're here, Robert. Excuse me. Hindsight 6'7", Roger checking in. Greetings from next door. Greetings, Raj. Glad you're here. And Jerry is checking in. That's Robert's better half. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. It is sticky and miserable here. I guess in Texas. I am talking about the weather, not Robert. Well, I'm sure if he was outside, he would be sticky and miserable too. Just saying. Rusty's Restoration. Good evening, all, Barry from Southern Indiana. Evening, or everyone, give a thumbs up. Yes, by all means, give a thumbs up. Thank you. I don't know. I hope it helps. I hope it helps. But yeah. Troy Justit, happy Monday from Coastal Georgia. Glad you're here, Troy. And we have lost 2-1. Made it on time for a change. Hi from Calgary. All right, Great White North. Glad you're here. You know, I saw something the other day. It was on a memories post or something about we made a trip a few years back up to Alaska. We did a cruise up there, and on the way back we stopped. I know Calgary is different wherever. I couldn't even point to it on the map. I'm sorry, but on the way back we stopped at Victoria, British Columbia. Man, what a beautiful place that is! All the flowers and all the landscaping. So if you ever get a chance and you're up that way, check it out. And what's cool about it is apparently they have I don't know how to label it, like a Gulf Stream of air comes up from basically like Hawaii and comes up across that area. So they have very temperate weather, which is surprising. When you think Canada, you always think snow, cold, miserable, whatever. But this area here was just beautiful, just beautiful. So glad you're here, Lost 2-1. Dave Conville checking in from New Jersey. That would be the second Dave sighting. The Dutchman's Wood Shack. Hey, how are you? I'm good. Hope you are well. Glad you're here. And he says the younger generation doesn't understand the ramifications of the past. I agree with that. And, you know, it's unfortunate that there's things being taught aren't necessarily depicting the history of everything. And don't get me started. Let's move on. Move on. Jay Living, I'm here. LOL, got my new top on my 68 Fastback. Also, thank you for your service to all our vets. We love you all. Thank you, Jay. Travis Holtman checking in. Yo, Barry, good afternoon. Good afternoon, evening, Travis. Glad you're here. You know, I'm glad you're here, Travis. Honestly, we have. I was looking over my Patreon and people that are subscribed, and Travis is at the top of the list. Thank you. But there's, I think, 200 people on the Patreon page, and there's some that are there as free members, which they get to see maybe some pictures and stuff like that. And then there's others that are there, you know, for the videos and stuff. So I wanted to point out, I just posted a video yesterday and another segment of that today, because I'd done suspension work on the car, on the Cobra Jet, and I had started putting on the idler arm and the drag link and tie rods and all those pieces and parts. I ended up having a lot of film footage. Like, had I made one video, it would have been well over an hour and a half long, if not longer. And I know my patrons appreciate the long, you know, videos with lots of details. And so I was working on that, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be too much. So I made one video, posted it yesterday, and that one was dealing with the tie rods, the drag link, steering box, idler arm, and then I made it on a sway bar too. I put the sway bar on. And then the second video I posted today was the strut rods, the the brake rotors, calipers, all that sort of thing. So I'm working on another version of those two to put on YouTube. It's going to be a shorter version. It's not going to have as much detail in it, but it's coming. So I know some people are here looking for the future YouTube video, and I want to let you know it is being worked on. I'm probably halfway through that video right now, and so there's still more to do. But glad you're here, Travis. The Dutchman, seems to me we need to straighten their straighten their attitudes out. Yeah, I wish it was that easy. I really do. There's a lot of things going on in this world that are affecting a lot of other things, and yeah, don't get me started. Okay, Marcus. Hi from the sticky hot garage south of Houston. You know, maybe that should make your YouTube channel, Sticky Hot Garage. There you go. Free of charge. Larry Fordyce checking in from Japan. He says, "Ud evening all." I know he means good, but he might be speaking Japanese. Konnichiwa, right? So, good evening, Larry. Glad you're here. Tara Schiefer. I'm guessing Schiefer. Tell me if I'm wrong. Schiefer doesn't make sense. It could even be Schaefer. Just let me know. My first car was a 1989 Mustang LX in 1994, but my Aunt Sharon had a 67 Mustang Fastback. Okay, well, I'll give you a bell for the Fastback and a little bell for the LX. I never had a Mustang LX, but I did have, I think it was a 93, 91 Mercury Capri. That's right. The other Mustang. That was, and it had I think it was a 6-cylinder. Yeah, it was a 6-cylinder automatic. Good little car. Had fun in it. The Dutchman, hello from Mustang Jeff's Garage. Okay. So, are you at Mustang Jeff's Garage, or is that another name you're using? Either way, glad you're here. Ed Cucciarella, hello all, glad to be here. Glad you're here, Ed. Hope all is well out there on the left coast, if I remember correctly, right? West coast, left coast, east, right? You know what I mean. Creek Auto Funelaria. Boa notte. So I'm going to say good night. I'm guessing. Good night. That's my guess. That's my stab. Boa notte. All right. Glad you're here, Creek Auto. Appreciate you. Gig'em Garage. Hello, Barry. Hello, Gig'em. Glad you're here. Steve Reed, I was working on my old Mustang Fastback, and a storm came in here about 5 o'clock. That's not fun. Storms are never good. Never fun. DIY Fab Shop, thanks for the rotisserie video. I just ordered one for a 69 Firebird Resto Mod project. Awesome. The Dutchman's Woodchuck, what do you think of that movie Ford versus Ferrari? Let me think about that just a second. I will tell you, I got to see that movie as a premiere when I was out in SEMA. That was 2019 when that came out. I think it was 19. I was part of a group that went to the Shelby automotive place, whatever they call it out there. And part of the trip was taking us to a theater and getting to see Ford versus Ferrari before the general public. That was really cool. Now, I think they did a great job with the movie. I know there are some things they took liberty with, like the conflicts between Ken Miles and different situations. And if you read up on it, I think Ken Miles is very much not like that. There was no fight between him and Shelby and all that sort of thing. But they had to get some drama in there, and they did. And I don't think they ever did the actual driving thing where they had the Ford guy, and Shelby's taking him out on a course and scaring the tar out of him. that like didn't happen, but I think they did a really good job with the movie. The depictions are cool. The camera work is awesome. I mean, they did a great job. In fact, I was just thinking about that the other day. I need to go see that again, just to enjoy the moment of seeing that movie. So, good question. Nick says hello. Hello, Nick. Glad you're here. Rick Gain. I commented before, but it disappeared. Make a YouTube video on how to subscribe to Patreon. It's not a bad idea. I don't know what happened to your comment, Rick. I didn't see it. You're usually one of the first ones in, if not the first one. I was surprised. But yeah, it's not a bad idea. I should probably do a segment as to how to do that. But if anybody's interested at all and you want to see that, how Patreon works, there is a link in the description box for all my videos, including this one. There should be a link for Patreon. And if you click on that, it'll take you to my page and then show you what you can do to get access. But if you do that, I recommend it. If you want to see videos and stuff, it needs to be the $5 level, because the $3 one, it's just not worth it, as far as what you're going to get. And I've actually considered just eliminating that as an option on the page, because I don't have anything to offer at that level that's going to be beneficial. So, but it was set up that way from Patreon, and I didn't have much choice in the matter. But that's a great idea. Gig'em, we need boats in Dallas. Ooh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Jay Living, is there a alternative lead substitute for leading seams on a roof skin? That is a good question. I've heard there's a product, I can't remember the exact name. I think it was something like Instead of Lead or something like that. I think Eastwood sells it, from what people are saying. I have not really researched that deep into it. I know that there's been some debate, especially with the way I'm doing the Cobra Jet. I welded in metal pieces to fill in the bulk of the gap where that seam is, but I don't think I'm going to use any of that lead alternative. There's I can't think of the name, but there is something out there. I think Eastwood sells it, that is a lead substitute that doesn't have lead in it. Now, what I'm going to probably do is use the short strand fiberglass to build that up a little bit, sand it down, and then retop it with my Rage Ultra and take care of any of that. It's not very thick. There's not much there, but that's probably what I'll end up doing. Man, my I don't know why I feel like I'm already somewhat losing my voice. Maybe it's because I didn't do this last week. I'm out of practice. Troy, when you put the rear end back in slither, are you using the old springs, or are you going to use new ones, or are you going to plumb it up? I don't plan to change anything as far as, because I don't want to finish this car. I don't want to do all the other things, right? I want to do the body work, paint it, and that's it. I really didn't want to do all the brakes and stuff up front as far as installing that, but I wanted to address that before it left here, because somebody would have to take it back apart to put all that stuff on there. So I decided I'll just go ahead and put on the rotors and calipers and all that stuff up front. Now, in the back, what I want to do, in fact, the rear end's laying right here behind me. It's all rusty. It's pitted. It's going to need probably maybe media blasted. I know the U-bolts on the one in the U-bolt on that side is actually broken. The leaf springs are rusty. If I were to put it in, I would probably even consider changing to a whole different housing, just because of the rusting and pitting. Even the center section has really, really deep pits in it, which you just can't fix. There's no way around it unless you just fill it in with body filler or something. My plan is to put it in the car with new shackles and new mount bolts, and pretty much that's it. I just want to make it so it can roll. I don't want to hook up any cables. I don't want to plumb any lines. I don't want to put any, put the fuel tank in. I don't want to do any of that. It's just not on my agenda. I know that, I know everybody would love me probably see me finish this whole car, but I just my initial deal on this was really just to do all the metal work. I wasn't even going to paint it, but I'm helping out. I will do the paint work, but I don't want to do all the other stuff. I would rather be doing metal work. No, that's my favorite thing. Cutting out panels, welding in panels, fit and finish. That's fine. Start putting in carpet, interior, and wiring, and lights, and headliner, and blah 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 blah. All that stuff adds up really fast and becomes very stressful. So that's where I'm at on this project. Good question. Thank you for that. And Jay Living also says the seams. Yes, we were talking about the leaded seams. Bob Shoemaker's checking in late from Oklahoma, and no storms for once. All right, that's a positive. There we go. I'm gonna bring Robert on, and we're gonna continue with this conversation. But I'm gonna bring Robert on. We'll see what he's up to. There he is.
Up to no good as usual.
Okay, that's all right. How are things in the shop?
I got the air conditioner going, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
I did start working on the the rear valance because I got that thing aligned a while back, but now that it's down, I still got a little more fine tuning to do on it. It's pretty close. It's better than most are, but I'm still not. You know the drill. It's I still want to fine tune. It's like it looks pretty good, but it's still just a little more proud than I would like it to be, and I'm sitting there, I'm putting a stick in here, I'm pushing here, I'm bending, I'm just you're fiddling with it. But it's like, and I've told somebody else that the biggest thing I notice on those rear valances, and people complain about them not fitting, don't always blame the valance. It's because they put new quarter panels on the car, but they didn't put the valance on before they welded the bottom of the quarter panels on. Because the quarter panels do all of this.
Yeah, that's true.
They go in and out and, put that rear valance on and get it all lined up and then weld the quarters. Because if not, your valance is going to be too short, too long, something.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But I got it shoved back, so now I'm going to work on the front end and getting all that stuff, getting it all tweaked and make sure everything is going to line up again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's vital.
Yeah, and it's time consuming.
Yes. Jay Living, I bought ACP headlight extension, and they have horrible alignment with the fenders. Okay, so are they original fenders, or are they aftermarket fenders? We already know the extensions are, but it's even worse if you have aftermarket fenders, at least from what I've seen. So.
Yeah, it's like I've got factory ones that are not great. They're the usual beat up, but yeah, they they don't fit.
They don't fit.
It doesn't like those fenders at all.
Yeah. C&J Hoyt, hello all. Thanks for the response on the frame jig the other day. I used some BCI floor joist to set up a wood frame to double check the straightness of the Ford build sheet, and it seems to work. Okay. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. James Smothers. Hello, all. Hello, James. James has a new, I don't know how much he has on it yet, but he has a new YouTube channel he's doing too. I believe he's building a 67 Mustang convertible from scratch, pretty much.
See, I like that because I don't have to worry about my head hitting the roof.
Yeah.
Because I get in this, it's just even without a headliner, I'm like, it's...
Yeah, you might need the Mustang Steer setup where it's got the full recess.
And I like that, but you know me, if it's something I can make, I would rather make it than buy it. And now I know, like on the Chryslers, like the B-body Chryslers, you can just fiberglass the roof, do it on top of the roof, pop that off, trim that, and then now that's your headliner inside. I don't know if that trick will work on the Mustangs. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it might be hard to finish out the edges. It might be hard to finish out the edges. Oh, you're starting to lag on me.
Yeah. Because, like I said, I know on the B-body Mopars that yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if the shape works out to where you bring it down and you shorten it up and
Yeah.
yeah.
There's only one way to find out, right?
Yeah.
It's like when they said the comedian talked about you make yourself a shark suit. There's only one way to test a shark suit.
Yeah. Well, here's the other one. If you had another roof, just another roof, and then trim that up and stick it up and
I got one sitting right out here. I got one sitting right outside the door. You can have it.
I do have some stuff that needs to go out to your place.
There you go. You can have it. It's right there. Take it with you, because I'll never use it. Say Jay Living said it was a dynacorn fenders. So
Okay.
now, let me just talk about that a second. Since we're talking, if you go back and look at the Brooklyn Pony videos, I had bought fenders. The boxes had dynacorn stickers on them, but they were not actually dynacorn. If they're black fenders, they're not made by dynacorn. That's the way I look at it. I haven't seen. I mean, they could be, but more than likely they're the basic regular fenders that everybody buys, put their sticker on it, and call it theirs. So on the Brooklyn Pony car, I had to modify those fenders. I had to reshape the front to where it met the headlight extension. I had to slice and dice and push and bend and weld, and it looks fantastic. It really did. But just know that
and talking about that, the fenders I've got, on the driver's side, up against the cowl, that side there, it's a little too tight. So I'm going to have to, pull that back, take that apart and let it spring out a little bit. And then they've got issues like, down around where you come into the front valance where the curve is not correct. It's kind of, for most part, it's pretty good. It's just some of the fine details of it are just not quite there.
Yeah. Nick says Mustang's to Fear headliner is worth it. I believe it probably is. I won't argue that. I have not tried one, but I would consider putting one in.
I've heard. I've seen nothing but good about it.
Yeah. Bouncing off of that, Mustangs to Fear contacted me last week. If y'all remember, I did a video on the roll bar for the Cobra Jet and how it wouldn't fit. And in fact, if you look through the comments on that video, the guy that owned Mustangs to Fear previously made a comment on my video. And his comment was like, well, you're going to have to do this, and you're going to have to do that, and you're going to have to do this, and you're going to have to do that. I was like, why would I have to do anything if I'm paying $500 for a piece of roll bar tubing that is bent and has a couple pieces welded to it? And he was like trying to defend, because he's the one that designed that. So he was trying to take it personal. So anyway, we have already agreed that we're not putting any roll bar in the Cobra Jet. She doesn't want it. She doesn't think it's necessary, and I agree. It's fine, whatever. However, Mustangs to Fear contacted me, and they said, hey, we have production run of these roll bars now. Do you want another one? And I said, well, here's the situation. I told them we're not going to use it. However, if you want to send me one, that's fine, because they want me to do another video. They want me to highlight this new roll bar. And I said, if you want me to do it, that's fine. I have no problem with that. So they're talking about sending me a raw roll bar, no paint on it, no powder coat or anything, and go through the steps of mocking it up within either this car or my Mach 1, either one. So I haven't seen anything show up yet, and I don't know if they actually have committed to that because I talked to somebody in the office and the engineer guy, two separate phone calls, and so they were trying. He was trying to find out what they wanted to do. So it's possible I may be getting another roll bar from Mustangs to Fear, and I will do a video on that to show, hopefully, the improvements.
Yeah, and I'm not against a roll bar in a car, even just a street car, because anything in there that if something happens to the car while you're driving it is not a bad thing to have in there, because there's not a lot of structure in these cars.
No,
Because it will give you a little side impact benefit, a little.
yeah,
It's not going to hurt any.
right, yeah, and I can't say for sure that I would want to put one in my Mach 1. I'm torn because on one hand, I like originality. I like things to be as close to original as I can get them if possible. And that car obviously didn't have a roll bar, but it also didn't have a stroker motor and it didn't have an overdrive transmission. And it's not something that would necessarily be considered permanent. However,
but the engine and transmission are things that
you can take out and put back
and you're
in.
not really going to see anyway.
Yeah,
The average person will never know.
yeah,
They will just never know. So it's not like it's like blaring thing saying, "Hey, doesn't fit."
right.
So when it comes to making an original one, that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, yeah. I have to. I don't know. I have to make a decision as to whether I want to use that or not. So we'll see.
And like with me, it's like there's certain cars. It's like I would want to be more original with, and that's I get it. There's certain cars like that needs to be that way. This one here is not one of them.
Right.
It's a nothing. It was never anything special. So and what I had to all the work I had to do to it is like I want to make it mine. I want to make it the way I want to make it. And
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's enough other ones out there. It's like, there's enough red '66 Mustangs at every car show and swap meet and whatever that we don't need another one, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and the other thing is, and it depends on how I want to go with it. I have to go pick up that 70 Mach 1, and because there's nothing original with that car that I can see. Maybe that one gets a little different treatment. Maybe. But we'll see.
Yeah.
James, it's coming along. He's talking about his YouTube channel. Seems what takes most people an hour to do video recording seems to take 10 times longer. Yes.
Yep.
I won't argue that at all.
Oh, just even with that little thing when I did painting the dash and the door panels and all that stuff, I could come out here in 30 minutes and do it. But you want to set up and
Yep.
yeah.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
A lot to it. Troy says, Robert, how's the Explorer incoming? I can't find one here in Georgia. I might have to make a road trip to Texas.
It's over there on the floor. It's done. It's done.
Well, hey, wait a minute.
I do need another one though, because I want the locking differential and all that, but I do need another one. Do I need to haul one out to you?
You can make a coordinated effort here because you need the roof, right?
I guess I do now.
Troy needs a rear end. So you can make a road trip, bring the roof with you. I at least get the rear end here. Troy's in, I think, Savannah. So that's 4 hours down the road. But,
there's another one that could probably use one of those as well.
Oh, yeah.
And you can just, and with yours, you don't have to shorten it or anything. Just leave it the length it is and weld the stuff on, put it in. Yeah, you're going to have a slight offset. It's not like you're running big, wide tires. So, yeah, you could get away with that. And the yard I go to, they had several 373s. Most of them were all 373s. That I was finding were locking 373 rear ends, and they'll be all nice, rust free. Really good condition.
See, now you have a market. Now you have a market. You can just start whipping these things out and selling
Well,
them to people.
yeah. If I could sell it for enough, and okay, here, let me make a trip, and I'll just bring, carry half dozen of them and drop them off here and there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people
You
who would
know?
take them. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
and like I said, most of them are 373s. It seems to be the overwhelming gear ratio that I've seen. They did make some 410s and they made some others, but it's like I'm at the yard. It's like everyone's a locking differential is a 373.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm finding.
Yeah. James says he has a lot recorded, but I'm trying to get a month buffer in case I get sick. Actually building a frame jig at the moment. I have until end of August to get rear frame rails and trunk floor assembly. Okay. Rick Ains, 70 Mach 1 pickup. Refresh my memory. Did I miss something? Yeah, actually, I think I talked about it on a Patreon video in particular. But I was offered a 70 Mach 1 from, in fact, I'll just relate the story. The guy that I sold my brother's Studebaker to, who is also the same guy that painted that car back in '79, he bought the Studebaker from me, and he buys and sells cars. And he ended up stumbling onto a 70 Mach 1 with no title. And it doesn't have, there's no engine, no transmission, no interior. It is a shell, but it has VIN numbers on it. And I told him, I said, I don't need a title in Georgia. And he was like, oh, you want to buy a car? And I was like, sure. So we made a good deal on it. And I ran the numbers, and it is a legitimate 05. In 1970, the numbers went 05. And if it was an 05, it was Mach 1.
Okay.
Went 02, 03, 05 or something like that. So 02 was a fastback, but 05 was specifically a Mach 1. So I did make a deal on it, and I have to make a trip back up to Pennsylvania to tow it back here and then find a place to put it. But it's a deal that I can't pass up.
Yeah.
I really can't. So, and I still have to go pick up that 68 that I mentioned that's a rust bucket that I'm going to part out. So,
You need to get one of those big carport building kits. To one for the RV and then one for car storage, and
yeah,
I'll come out and help you put it together.
I just need a warehouse. I just need a
Yeah,
warehouse, that's all.
yeah.
Okay,
Hanger?
Lawrence. Lawrence T. McGillicuddy, I should say. My 66 coupe is nothing to brag about, but she ain't nothing to sneeze at either. I call her Black Betty. Murdered out black bumper to bumper. Well, that's a good approach. Don't have to worry about any chrome going bad on you. So glad you're here, Lawrence.
I still have the idea of wanting to take all the chrome that's going to go on the car and powder coat it with that black chrome. If you know what I'm talking about, it's like it's a really dark black, but it's kind of has that reflective chromey. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of difficult parts to do, and it's not a simple process.
Nope. Jay Living, also have a quarter extension that is close on the corner of the deck lid on driver's side. All my gaps are 3/16 all the way around the car. How can I get the extension to come out on the deck lid gap? Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know how it fits the quarter panel itself. So that's the first thing. If you were to move it outboard, would it follow the quarter panel or would it stick out past the quarter panel? That's your first dilemma. If there's room, the easy out is to just make the holes bigger in the quarter extension where it goes into the quarter panel and tail panel. Just make those a little bigger and you can slide it over. That's the easy out. Now, if you have a problem with it overhanging the quarter panel, not much you can do unless you take loose the tack welds on that where it meets that piece and push it out and re-weld it so that you have that gap available so you can move the piece out. That's what I can say.
And it's like now in my 66, the original, what's funny is those pieces fit the reproduction quarter panels better than they fit the factory.
Yeah.
And I'm talking the original pieces, where extensions fit the aftermarkets better than the originals. Because when I put them on the original quarter panels, they stuck out. They
Okay.
stuck out from the original quarter panels. It's just the way they were out of the factory on this particular car.
Yeah.
It is, but we all know there was, that stuff was all over the place. Gaps in alignment was not really important at the factory back then.
Yeah, that's true. We're just putting them together and letting them
Mhm.
roll.
Yeah, and it's like you look at some of the pictures of a lot of the gaps. Well, remember what was it, the 65 when we were at NPD? How bad
Yeah.
the hood was rubbing the fenders, and it came out of the factory that way.
Yeah.
That's the way it came out of the factory.
Yeah. Yeah. And the early cars were probably even worse than the later
Yeah,
cars.
and then my question would be is, over time you'd think they get better. Now, which plant at the end had the best, product at the end would be the question. And I mean,
Yeah.
no idea.
No
If
idea.
anybody's ever tried to compare anything, but it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah. Troy says we'll all meet at Barry's place. So we never know. It could work out.
You got the grill, I'll cook.
Yeah. Terry Keith says I have an Explorer rear end, $250. I don't know what. That sounds reasonable. I don't know.
That's usually what, like the yards will be anywhere from that price, give or take.
Okay.
Oh, the one yard I like to go to, they're a little more expensive, but they have nice, everything's on gravel. All the cars are up in the air. They've got wheelbarrows, they've got wagons.
Yeah.
It makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
It really does.
Nick says he got a grill in his car finally. It's a carbon fiber piece. I like it. Sent you a pic if you want to share. And boom. Yeah, that's pretty cool, Nick.
Uh-huh.
That is pretty cool.
And I like that, and I also like that glove box door he did as well.
Yeah,
The
that
carbon fiber
was-
one. That looks
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, that looks really good, Nick. You should be showing that car somewhere soon, if not racing it.
Yeah, get out there and have fun with it.
Yeah. Let me see here. Anthony Carver, you can store it at my house. Talking about the Mach 1. Car Guy Troy, just bill of sale to title register in Georgia. Well, bill of sale, but you don't get a title. So if it's over 25 years old, I think is the limit. You just need a piece of paper that says, I bought this car from Bob. Here's the VIN number. And if it's not in their database as stolen, it's yours. They don't care. Here's your tag and your registration, and that's all you need.
The only problem is you're basically stuck in the state though with that car.
Sort of.
Yeah, unless you have whatever method you got to go through to.
Well, there are other states that allow bill of sale, so you can transfer a bill of sale car to another bill of sale state,
So
or there
yeah,
are other loopholes like in Florida. If I register a car here without a title, and I sell it to somebody in Florida,
hmm
and I give them the registration showing that it was mine and it was registered in Georgia, they can go then to the tag office, hand them that, pay some green money, and they will hand them back or issue them a title for that car. So the registration is enough to get a title in Florida, but the car has to be there. They have to be able to look at it.
because they're going to want to look at the numbers on it. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm not saying that could happen.
Mhm.
But that could happen. It's possible, but not
It's
right
just-
now.
Some states make it really difficult for some
Oh, yeah,
reason.
sure.
I don't understand why.
Well, and see, Georgia, what they do is if you take in, they've done this to a lot of people. They take in a classic car title,
Hmm
and they say, "Oh, I want to get a new title," and I'm like, "Oh, you don't need that. You can keep it. We'll just do a bill of sale, and you can throw that away."
Mhm.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
I'll pay the extra money. How much is it? I don't care. I want the
Yeah.
title. but they've done a lot of people problems with that.
Well, that's like, even when my little utility trailer. Now, when I bought that, I went in and they said, "Oh yeah, we can." They will do those trailers here in Texas where they'll just register it. And they said, "Well, do you want a title?" Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
I probably have a title for mine somewhere, but I don't know. I've had that trailer for well over 20 years, so I don't even
Yeah.
know. Travis, I don't like chrome at all, so I will either paint or powder coat everything. Okay.
I don't blame you.
No.
I mean, there's certain cars I like the chrome on. Chrome is expensive. It's a pain in the butt sometimes, and I have a love and hate relationship with it because some cars I like it on it, other cars I don't want it.
Well,
Yeah.
here's a comment from James. I just got back my quarter window frames from the chrome plating guy last week. $600 to re-chrome, but it looks
Mm,
awesome and new, and I'm not surprised at all. They're
yeah.
ringing you up on that stuff now.
Yeah, and that was one of the things. There was one guy that was working on powder coating the door, uh, the, the 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 vent windows, vent
Yes.
window pot metal frames, and he was doing the powder coating on that, and he said it took him several tries because the pot metal back then was really pot metal. It was
Yeah.
pretty bad,
Yeah.
and you clean it up, you clean it, you do all this to it, and he says you go through it, you'll do one, it'll come out great. You'll do and the other one there, it's got stuff trapped in the metal. It'll come back out during the baking. So sometimes you'd have to do it 2 or 3 times
Yep.
before you could get it all out. But he did say that he said if you buy the aftermarket ones, the brand new aftermarket ones, assuming they fit, he said if you're going to powder coat it, buy those.
Yeah.
If you can get the aftermarket ones that fit because they're actually made out of better metal than the ones were in the
Well, yeah, I
60s
believe that.
because
Yeah.
it just doesn't have the extra gunk in it.
Nick says
But
anything worth. Oh, sorry.
but it has to fit first to
Yes,
make it worth it.
that's the important part. Nick says anything worth doing is difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay Living, if it fits good, all but the gap. Okay. Yeah. So if you can't move it outboard, there's not much you're going to be able to do because that metal does not. You can't reshape it.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I say you can't reshape it. You probably could reshape it, but you might regret that. I've never seen anybody have success in reshaping pot metal. It'll crack, but there may be some potential there. You could sort of fabricate your own piece,
Mm-mm.
sort of, depending how good you are with that sort of stuff. But you may have to just buy a couple at a swap meet or something and see if there's one that's made a little shorter
Mhm.
to see if it'll fit.
But and that's like I was talking about. The originals out of the factory they didn't fit that well. They
No.
did nothing fit well, and I think when we're looking at it now is like we want it to be perfect. We're so used to new cars and that everything lines up and it's all perfect, and we're trying to replicate that perfection onto these cars that were made in the '60s, and the parts just weren't made to do that. They
Right.
just weren't, unfortunately.
Right.
And it's just it's like, well, this is a little off and that's a little off, but yeah, that's the way it was.
Yeah. And we're so spoiled with modern cars that are built by machines that we
Hmm.
see a gap that's dead on all over the car, and we forget that
Hmm.
they didn't come this way ever.
No, yeah, and because today the robot puts the thing on there and it's like it's looking at all the gaps and it's perfect.
Yep, it's done.
Yeah.
Um, oh, Jay Living says also they're ACP also. Okay, that could be part of the problem with those
Those
extensions.
the ACP ones, if I remember, aren't those like the orangey beige color primed ones that you see?
I don't know.
I think that's what those are.
And he says his car came from San Jose. Lawrence, I've noticed 71 through 73 Mach 1 starting to get expensive. I'm not surprised at that.
Yeah.
I'm really not, because the timeline is marching forward. And
Mhm.
as I say, our connections to when we were younger, of course, when I was 16, I was in love with Mustangs because my dad had one, right? But there were some of us who went to college and had a Mach 1 or had a Mustang or whatever, or high school or whatever. And so as that timeline bumps forward, the people that had the later versions of Mustangs are like, you know what? I'd like to have one of those again.
Yeah.
And that's where that's coming up.
Well,
So,
and then also the part is, it's just like, well, I got this era here, and yeah, he's like, you like those, you like these, but if I go with the one that's a little bit newer, it might not be the style that I really want,
right. But I can
the
afford it.
the price is right, the condition's right, I can get it, and as long as it's something that the aftermarket supports.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. When you get to a certain year there, it's over until there's a big gap basically of the 70s for a lot of vehicles that the aftermarket is never going to really be there for.
Yeah. Laguna S3. No.
Yep.
Travis says, hey, Nick, link to the grill you got. So Nick may have a link that he can email me, Travis, and then I will get that to you or post it here or whatever. I know he was dealing, I can't remember the name of the company, Fiberworks, I think was the name of the company.
Could be. I'm trying to remember it too.
That he got his other pieces from. So
yeah.
it might be Fiberworks. I don't know.
Yeah, but that glove box door looked really good. It really did. And
Yeah.
it's kind of got me into wanting, and I was telling her, I 3D printed that gauge cluster with the extra
Yes.
gauge in it. That's got me thinking, and there is a British company that does really good instructional videos because they sell carbon fiber, fiberglass, and all that stuff. Really good instructional stuff. And I was watching one of those, and they were doing the forged carbon fiber. Where it's just you just press a bunch of stuff. It's pressed. So you take a whole bunch of fibers and epoxy press it in. This got me thinking. I printed that thing up. I could take that, go through some work, and make some reverse molds,
Yep.
and make that gauge cluster out of a forged carbon fiber, and that would look pretty cool. That would be pretty cool.
It would.
And once you get the mold made up, it's not that big a deal.
No. It's
But
not.
that's something that's kind of been, one of those things like, I think that'd be pretty cool and be neat. It'd be a neat project to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that would. Steve Reed, on a 6.7 Camaro, it needs inner and outer rocker panels and firewall and inner and outer wheel tubs. Where is the best place to start? Well, I have videos on two different Camaros, 268 Camaros. But if you need inner and outer rocker panels and firewall, best place to start. That's a tough question. That is a tough question.
Well, those cars are so sandwiched together.
They are. They're more complicated than a Mustang, for sure.
Yeah.
The wheel tubs, I have videos on that. I'd actually put mini tubs in the 68 Camaro, and I'd put in outer wheelhouses and everything on a black 68 Camaro. So if you look on my channel, my playlist, that'll show you that stuff. Now on the other stuff, the rocker panel and stuff, I did the basket case Camaro where I put the whole side on the car, and that's going to show you some details as to how that stuff goes together. So I can't say, best place to start with a torch and start cutting. But no, seriously, take a look at those videos, because it's really hard for me to try to describe what you need to do. But if you look at those videos, you're going to see the complexity of the Camaros and how they're put together, and lets you have some insight as to how you can work your way in to the car to then work your way back out. And I cover that a lot with the basket case in particular. So
yeah, you did put quite a bit of good footage on all of the different layers and talking about. I do remember that.
Yeah.
And I like the Camaros, I like GM cars, but if you want to build a car, the Fords are the way to go. They're just so much more simple. And
and I will say this, and I'll probably get grief for this. I'll take the Mustang, but I want a Chevy engine in it. I said it. I said it. I mean,
I,
it's cheaper to build a Chevy engine than a
yeah,
Ford engine any day.
yeah.
Cheaper.
But on that same idea with the engine thing, was a friend of mine. His boat engine must have frozen over the winter in storage, and so he needs an engine. And her and I were talking about. I was just talking about engines the way home. It's like, and Chevy engine, just great engines. They are great engines, and the aftermarket is great for them. Ford had a lot of really good engines too. Chrysler, though, and it's like I was telling her, it's like, if you've got a boat or something heavy or something big, I want a Chrysler engine in it.
Oh yeah.
That's just Chrysler. They made tanks of engines.
Yeah.
They had half of the problem that Ford did.
Right.
Ford put the oil pan at the front of the engine. At least Chrysler started pulling it back, and it was about halfway.
Yeah.
Had they put the pan at the back of the engine,
Yeah.
oh man, yeah.
Yeah. Rusty says, sent you a pic with the drivetrain in.
Ooh,
So
nice.
let's have a look at that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And his email says, I dropped the drivetrain in last week, got the brake and clutch pedal rebuilt, slowly but surely getting it back together. So yeah, that looks really nice.
But you're talking about the clutch and brake pedal stuff. You know what's hard to find for the 5s and 6s, and they don't make? For automatics. The brake pedal for an automatic.
Really? Oh, they don't make it aftermarket.
They don't make an
Oh,
aftermarket
yeah.
for the automatics.
Yeah.
But it's the same pedal. They just added the plate is just bigger.
Right.
And that's the only real difference there. And you can just weld a piece on there.
Yep.
But and there was, I want to say there was a different pin or just a separate pin at the top instead of the clutch lever with the.
Yeah, there's something you have to change out because I remember dealing with that on something.
Yeah, because the clutch has the pin, the cross pin, and I want to say it was just, and then you have just a cross pin without a clutch hanging off of it.
Right.
And that's something I do need for this one, or I'll just fabricate it up and call it done. It's a shaft that goes through there, and
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal.
Right. Michael Pagliarini, good evening, all late to the party. Glad you're here. Jeffrey Dewar, good evening, everyone. Made it home to relax with cars and coffee. That's a good sign. Car Guy Troy, probably need a police inspection of the car VIN. Have to do that in most states, referring to the Florida example. Yes, yeah, they have to have somebody come out and look at it and verify the VIN. So yes, you are correct. Go with that. Richard Vogel. Good evening, Barry and Robert. Great to see you guys. Glad you're here, Richard. Get caught up a little bit. Rick Stevenson, when I finally get to work on my 68 Mustang, I plan to build a day 2 car. Day 2. I'm not sure what that means. It's in quotes.
I'm not either offhand.
So it has to mean something. I'm not sure what day 2 means.
It'll probably make sense when we understand.
Oh, like he's saying. No? We'll get an explanation here in a minute. Sorry. Rick Gain, do you need registration on a tow dolly? Not that I know of. Not that I know of, because there's no. I mean, I don't have one. I don't even have anything, a tag or anything on my tow dolly. But I don't know if it makes any difference. Like Rick says, it depends on the state. So,
we do.
You do it with a tow dolly?
Texas is very bureaucratic when it comes to all that stuff.
Is there a tag on it?
Oh yeah. If you've just got like your little 2-wheel dolly for the for the RV, yeah, you'll have a tag on it. Or if you have a concrete mixer, with concrete mixers with, that you hook on, yeah, you're going to have a tag on it.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Okay.
if it can be taxed and feed here, we do it. Yeah.
Shh. Don't spread that around. Okay. Rick, C&J. Hey, is there any links out there that show the dimensions of the builds for squaring up a car? 66 coupe just to double check before locking in with weld. That's a good question. I'm not sure what dimensions
Yeah.
you're talking about. I'm dealing with this right now with another guy who's bought a dynacorn floor pan,
Mm-hmm.
and he's measuring it and finding it's not built perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to relate that is I don't know that it matters. What I mean by that is if the frame rails fit
Mm-hmm.
and you can get the dimensions right,
Mm-hmm.
if one of the floor supports is off a little bit, it's not going to make a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to. He actually sent me some pictures and stuff to look at, and I'm going to try to verify for him to make sure everything's okay. But I know we get caught up in that.
Mm-hmm.
We really do. And these cars, although they were built on jigs, sort of, they were just placed on pegs on a rail.
And
So
then
stuff could have been in and out. It could be off just a little here and there. And there's limits, right? They say, oh, it can be, I don't know, whatever the number is. I guess I look at it as it wasn't perfect when it came off the showroom floor.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we get it to where it's close and functions, it's probably all that really matters. Now, as far as his question, dimensions for the builds for squaring up a car, what I look at whenever I'm doing something like the Cobra Jet. Now, granted, I had already started a measuring thing in my head saying I want to know what this dimension is before I take it apart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's normally what I do is I start with, here's point A, point B. Let me write some numbers on the car. Here's another one. Let me write some numbers on the car. And I bounce those around until I get all kinds of measurements. And if they come out the same, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to put the car back together, I have those notes that says, okay, this was 66 and a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at 66 and 3/16. Close enough.
Mm-hmm.
I can't beat myself up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if that was done before on C&J, if he had done any of that measuring before. But at this point, if I'm building something and I don't have numbers, I'll make my own numbers. And what I mean is I will start measuring crisscross everywhere that I can and verify this corner to this corner is whatever. This corner to this corner is 66 on this side and it's 65 and a half on this side. So I'm a quarter inch off, not a half. I'm a quarter. Move one way, move one the other way, get the measurement, square it up. That's normally what I would do. So
Yeah,
I can't point to somewhere and say, you're going to find dimensions here.
yeah, and I've done the same thing. And the one thing, if I had a perfect body, one that I knew was perfect, and I've talked about this before, but now, 3D scanners are affordable now.
Yep.
They are affordable. You can get a 3D scanner for under $1,000 that you could take a perfect car and scan that thing into the computer and have all of that stuff and then be able to go in and measure from here to here and here to here. And, so that way afterwards, where things were. And that is all affordably, can be done affordably these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really surprised nobody has done it yet. Of course, if I had the body and I had the scanner, I'd do it.
Yeah.
But I don't have those.
Michael, I'm in the process of chemically stripping the paint of some of the original body panels. Do I need to use a metal etching? And he says before hitting it with 2K primer, the primer is a DTM. Okay. I would follow whatever the directions are on the stripping chemical. So if it says strip with this chemical, rinse with water, dry, apply primer, or whatever the next step is. Some chemicals, depending on who manufactures them, will have a multi-step. Like Pour 15 sells products for doing your gas tank. And they will tell you to put in this material, shake it all up, break loose the junk, dump it out, rinse it out, apply this one, which is a metal prep, put that on, shake it out, wash it out, and then apply your top coat. Okay? So it depends on what your manufacturer says on the label for that chemical stripping. So if it tells you do this, do that, do this, follow that procedure. I can't say that I would do it any other way, as in I think they're wrong or I think that I should do this. Follow what's on the can. That's your best recommendation. That's what I can say.
And I think it was also kind of aiming towards like to use an etching primer or something on the metal afterwards.
Right.
I think it's kind of where he's headed.
Right, that's what he was
What I
asking
was going
about
to add was is don't just strip it, clean it, and then put primer on it. You still need to rough it up. You still need to sand it. Put a little bit of a hook into it.
Right. That wouldn't hurt. Yeah.
Just it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. Just enough to put a little bit of hook into it, and that way your epoxy, it's going to grab onto there.
Right. Yeah. I just don't want to point you in a direction, say, do this, whenever their instructions might tell you do that. Because if I'm wrong, now you got a problem, and you don't want to have that. So follow what's on the can. I always try to look at whatever it says. Like I have PPG data sheets, and I follow that directly. And if it says do this, do that, that's kind of that's why I look at it.
My complaint about some products is, and you'll find some of the products that they have a tech sheet, but it's not really detailed. It just says, sometimes they'll say, well, just do industry standard practices in this step. But that could be anything.
Right.
But I do like the ones that you'll see some of them. The paint that you use, the red paint on was it BASF that you used on the bottom? Okay.
Yeah.
That stuff there, the tech sheets for BASF stuff are the best I've ever seen. They are so detailed on there's just pages and pages of it, and you'll read through this thing. I'm doing this type of application with it, and it'll say here, this is how you do it for this particular situation. And if your situation is different, there's a different set of instructions for that situation. It'll tell you what grits to do, when to do this, what to clean it with, how long to let it sit. Here, you mix this differently on this situation than that situation. And there's just a lot of really good information on those sheets.
Yep. And that's what we all need, more information to help us understand the whole process.
Yeah. And it's like any of those tech sheets. I want more data on there than I need.
Yeah.
I want more information because I don't want to have to read it there and then, well, you didn't cover this part or that part. Now I've got to go figure it out from somewhere else.
Yeah. Let me get caught up here. I have a comment. I don't know what we were talking about, but Jay Living says yes. I'm sorry. It falls below where I'm looking, so I can't really remember where we were. Marcus, I'd like to see 3D printed headlight buckets and quarter end caps of fiberglass. I don't think you can do 3D printed fiberglass that I know of. You can do molds, injection molds.
And you can do you can do 3D printed metal now, where they take the
he's saying or fiberglass. Okay.
Yeah.
Not of fiberglass. Sorry, I was thinking it was or fiberglass.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing with 3D printing. It's not just plastic; it's metal.
Yeah.
You can take the powdered metal and make.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing the stuff you can make.
Well, I've got friends. I got friends who run 3D printers out of Delta, and they make complex metal parts, and it's amazing.
Well, because there's stuff you can make that with 3D printing you can't make any other way.
That's very
with
true.
Passages inside and all sorts of things like that.
I'm trying to. I got a message from Derek from in Australia, and he was trying to message me prior to the live stream. I can't open up what he sent me, but I'm going to read to everybody what we're talking about here, because he has a question. He says he won't be on the live, be able to get on today. I would have liked to hear your voice. He says, I'm looking at doing a deal on a 65 GT Coupe. It's matching numbers with papers, California black and white plated car, so it has the original license plate, 4-speed, rally pack, very solid car. What do you think the price over there for something like that in real life, not internet figures? I would like your opinion as far as the price, but as the price here is fair, but still a lot. Let me know. Please value your opinion. Okay, so a real 65 GT coupe, not a fastback, numbers matching with papers, has the California plates, 4-speed rally pack, very solid car. Okay, so if anybody has an opinion on that, I'd have to do a little research on my own to come up with a number. Obviously, it's being not a fastback. That brings it down a little. But having all the other prominence with it, and depending on how original it is, I think I don't know. It says restored or not. I don't know, but
well, being it has the original plates, I'm wondering if it just didn't spend that much time on the road.
Well, the thing is with those plates, I've got a set of plates up here, California, from a 65 Impala that my buddy still drives here in Georgia.
Well,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Assuming that those were the actual original. Yeah.
That means it may have been sold, but I think the plates stay with the car over in California. I don't think you get to keep those.
I don't know. I know here. I never leave plates on the car because you don't know what the next guy's going to do.
Yeah. In fact, when I sold my dune buggy, I peeled off the registration sticker because it was brand new. It was May. I was like, that no, they don't get that.
Yeah.
At least that'll at least leave a flag somewhere. Jay Levin, do you think do you think you could file the outer edge a little and bring it out? Nick's car is a nice looking car. Okay, talking about the extension and whether you could make it fit that quarter.
Let me go grab it and look at it.
You may be able to do some of that. Honestly, what I've done in the past on some, depending on car and situation, if the deck lid is perfect, if it's your original deck lid and it's straight, okay, or if it has some stamping flaw that makes it wider than it's supposed to be, I've modified a deck lid before to make it straight again and do away with that gap. Now, I can't say, if your extension is pushing out and you can't change, you don't want to change the deck lid if your extension is definitely the problem. But you could take some of it off. It's not that thick of metal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it right here, and there's actually a decent amount of metal up here at the top here.
Yes. But
Decent amount up here. On the side over here, it starts out because you've got the rubber piece that goes in there. It starts out there, and then you can feel it thin out.
Yeah, he's talking about the inside edge where it meets the deck lid, though.
On over here,
yeah, there's nothing there.
It would be just paper thin by the time you got any appreciable amount.
That's what I was saying before. It's possible you could skim cut that and bring that flange over a little bit, but you'd have to figure out a way to attach it again, like solder or braze or something. And I don't even want to go down that path.
No, because that's welding pot metal is a nightmare. Even
it might as well be JB Weld.
Stuff. Yeah.
So I got a response on the GT. Car Guy Troy says 35 to 40K if it's all there, an original car if it's a true GT. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I'm the last one to ask on pricing for things.
Yeah. Let's get caught up on some of these others. James Smothers, 74 to 78 Mustang 2, Pintos, Mavericks, and Comets are surging in value, and reproduction parts are now being made. I'm not surprised at that. I've always actually been a fan of Pintos. It's a weird thing, but I like Pintos.
It's a fun little car.
It's a fun little car. Engines in the front, axles in the rear. I mean, yeah.
And I'm thinking Pinto, make really big engine in the front and just have fun with it.
Oh yeah,
just have fun with it.
Well, I can't tell you how many of those got destroyed in mini stock dirt track cars, just by the thousands.
Yeah.
Nick says he has sold a lot of those glove box doors, especially the 65 to 66. They're spiffy. So I'm still guessing it's Fiberworks was the name of the company.
I remember looking at the website because I looked at it after he put the pictures up of on his. It hadn't been too long, And I mean, that's a really good looking glove box door.
It is. Nick says, thanks to Jay. Jay, let me 68 Camaro do the rockers, then do the firewall wheel tubs last. Okay. James Smother says, Steve, start with the pad of paper, measuring tape, and 1 terabyte memory card for your camera. Take a billion pictures.
Yep.
Can't argue with that. Russ Cyrillus. C. Earls. He's saying boo, and I'm guessing he's talking about putting a Chevy engine in a Mustang.
I can understand that.
I can too, but you know, it's hard to argue with. You can love them and hate them. I mean, and I've said it before. I'm a car guy. I just happen to do a lot of Mustangs. I like Mopars. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I like.
I
Chevys.
would love a Mopar.
Yeah.
I would love a Mopar.
I'd be happy to have a '67 Plymouth right now in my garage.
Yeah,
but ain't gonna happen.
It's just Mopar has the issue of there's not many of them out there, and everything for them is, 3, 4, 5, 6 times the price of.
That's true.
Of anything else.
That's true. Rick Gaines says, I've been telling you to do YouTube with an LS in a Mustang, guaranteed to get views. Yeah, I would.
There's quite a few of them out there in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going to the Super Chevy Show years ago, and you'd see a lot of Mustangs out there. The Super Chevy Show, because they're all got 350s in them.
Well, I talked about this before. It was that movie, that terrible movie, Cannonball. Not Cannonball Run.
Yes.
Cannonball.
With
yeah, that guy.
Carradine.
Yes, David Carradine.
Yeah.
And they had a '69 Mustang, and it had a big block Chevy in it, in the movie. And the guy was even commenting about it, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. It's hard to beat the big block Chevy for what it is. It really is.
Yeah. McDLT, hi Barry, just wanted to say thank you for all you do. Your videos have been a huge help to me as I rip apart a 65 coupe. God bless. Awesome. Glad you were enjoying the videos. Rick Stevenson, a day 2 car. Imagine you buy the car new, then take it home and make a few changes. Wheels, tires, cam, carb headers, exhaust, just to make it yours. Okay.
Yeah, I got that. I get you. Yep.
C&J, on that floor pan sheet, it talks about being in or out 3/16 plus or minus. Okay. Yeah. So 3/16. Yeah.
On a lot of things here is I expect things to be at a 1/4 inch. Factory wise, I expect 1/4 inch in a lot of places. So
yeah.
And like you said, but it's really not a big deal. It wasn't a big deal.
Right.
It didn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, they still went down the road.
Yeah.
Rick Stevenson, but done more period correct. Okay, talking about using stuff from that time period. I got you. Roger, I actually have a 3D scanner. I just haven't gotten comfortable with the software yet. Stay tuned. So
I was. What was it? Their Creality, one of the 3D printer company. They've got a new one out that is. It's a really impressive scanner. It really is for what it does. It's amazing with the. You can tell. One guy was taking a 1, 2, 3 block. The machinist will know what I'm talking about.
Yep, I know what you're
And
talking
he was scanning a 1, 2, 3 block, and it's all really shiny stuff that's hard to scan, and it's scanning the threads inside the block. And this is something where it's just mind-boggling that we can buy something off the shelf that just does that.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Something that years ago you think, oh yeah, that's a $500,000 thing to do that kind of scanning, and now it's just like, oh, you can get on Amazon or order one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Well, the scanning part's easy.
Yeah. then getting into the software and playing with it.
Yeah. Car Guy Troy, tore my dynacorn floor pan apart, partially due to dimensions, etc., but mainly because car is a convertible, and I was scared of things moving if I cut the bottom of the car. Nice parts, not perfect. Okay. He also mentioned about the 35 to 40 on that original car if it's a true GT. Mr. Mach 1 says hello. Hello, Mr. Mach 1.
Now but he was out of Australia asking about that, wasn't he?
Yes.
Does
So
he need me to escort it to
yeah,
Australia for him?
yeah. Um, Steve Reed says thanks to Jay. Michael Pagliarini, High Octane Classics in Massachusetts, just sold one for 38,000, red and white. Okay. Nick, I had the web link on here and it disappeared. Yeah, it won't let me post actual web links. So if you want to email it to me, I will forward that to Troy or whoever else wants that. Lawrence, I molded my rear fender extensions in. Looks pretty good.
Mhm.
Okay.
But talking about that, even with like the rear valance, I'll see guys that'll weld those in, and it's like, I would do that, and then as soon as I did it, I'd be like, there's something I would have to cut it off for.
Yeah.
There'd be something come up that I would have to go in and cut it off and get into that area for some reason. That's
Yep.
just my luck.
Yeah. Jay Living, a guy I know, had a yellow Pinto. It was tubbed with a 460 in it. Oh, that would have been fun to go around turns.
Yes, that would be fun. Now, can we take a Pinto, put a big engine in it, and make it all-wheel drive?
Sure.
Now that would be fun.
So you get a GMC Cyclone.
There you go. Take the front axle from an S10, throw that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then, well, put the turbo in it. Do all the 3.8
yeah,
turbo and everything. Just put a chassis underneath it that's
yeah.
if you could find a Cyclone.
Well, there's four-wheel drive S10s still out in the world somewhere. I don't know
Well,
where.
that's true, but
I don't know where,
Cyclones,
but
I think the Cyclones were built a little bit different.
yeah.
Just
And
a little.
Astrovans had they're four-wheel drive or
They
all-wheel
did.
drive
They had some
Astrovans.
all-wheel drive Astrovans. Yes.
I love those Astrovans up. Those things were. We had a couple of those as
I had two of
beaters. Had two white ones as beaters just for hauling refrigeration stuff around at the time. And those things, it didn't matter what you did them. They just ran. They would go down the road with a big trailer with a full cooler.
Yeah.
One of those coolers you have to build and set up, walk-in coolers. Yeah, stacked up. And the guy driving it, we're cruising down back roads, and he's probably doing 80, 85 down the back roads with a cooler on that trailer. And that little van just like no big deal. It's just
Yeah.
putting along.
Well, I had one that had the split doors in the back.
Yep.
That was a nice option.
Yeah.
I like that. I think I mentioned this already. Wait a minute. 35 to 40 if it's all there, nice original car. If it's a true GT, fastbacks will bring double that or more. So we're in the 35 to 40 range is what we're hearing. So Jay Living, I seen a guy build a 351 Windsor and put LS heads on it, and it made 970 horsepower on dyno.
Yeah, because the LS heads are really very, very similar.
Really?
I mean, the design of the LS is very similar to the overall dimensions of the 351.
Yeah, but how does that work? Well, I don't want to think about it. It never happened. F-Bomb Garage, the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift Mustang. Okay.
I haven't seen that one.
I think I've only ever seen one Fast and Furious, and that's it. I've never seen any after the. I don't even think I saw the whole original one.
The only one I watched that I enjoyed but it wasn't really the Fast and Furious main part. It was the
Slow and Feeble.
or Calvin and Hobbes or something like that. I forget
Oh,
what it is. Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw. That was actually an entertaining movie. That was,
Okay.
I liked that one,
Yeah.
and it had some really cool cars in it. It really did. It was a pretty cool, cool tow trucks in it. They're just
Okay.
really cool.
Lawrence, are there laser guns? Or are these laser guns used to remove rust getting any cheaper yet? I have not looked into that, so I hope so, but I haven't looked into that at all. When they start showing up at Harbor Freight, then we'll know.
Yeah, yeah.
Chris Greenaway, I seem to be late. Well, You're on Canada time, so it's okay. Nick, you use a rust remover laser gun on some of these Mustangs, you'll be left with an engine block, trans, and rear. If you're lucky. And it's a Troy says, if you're lucky, Nick, maybe less than that.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick says, well, it's Foreman Fiberworks, but he is on a hiatus for a while to catch up on orders and build molds for new products before opening back up. You know, there's always ideas, always thoughts and stuff like that. And when I went to school for aircraft maintenance, I learned about doing composites and how you do it and what you need and the autoclave and the vacuum system. And we would mold stuff and build it. And
I've always been interested in it myself.
yeah, I mean, I like it. I
You know,
like
see
it.
the mold, and it's just I want to do that, but it's like it's yet another.
Right.
You
There's
know,
a lot of upfront cost.
Yeah.
A lot of upfront costs because you have to have the furnaces, you have to have the vacuum system,
Yeah.
you have to have
And
materials.
And with the epoxy, you can do it without the furnaces, but you're gonna get a different durability of part. You
Well,
know,
right.
just in the normal epoxy.
Because we were putting it in the autoclave, I guess, where it's got you can put it under vacuum, put it in the autoclave, it comes out and it look fantastic. But
Yeah.
big investment. So Foreman Fiberworks once again. Anybody? Travis Foreman Fiberworks. There you go. Julian Valentine, hello from Western Australia. My build is a Pro Touring 70 Mach 1. Thanks for all your tutorials. They're a big help. Awesome. That's a new name. Glad you're here, Julian. Chris Greenaway says Hobbs and Shaw was the name of that movie.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. For one of those movies.
I may have to check it out. I don't think I've seen it. James says it's time for me to go. Have a good night, everyone. Yeah, we're about at quitting time. It's almost an hour and a half, and that's about my limit. J Living head bolt patterns are the same on LS and 351 and have to have a sheet metal intake and special push rods. Okay. I would not have even considered the idea of LS parts fitting on a Ford.
There was a lot of but then again, you go back to the 60s and you've got, you know, the car companies were stealing ideas from each other back then too, and I don't have a problem with that because it makes everybody's stuff better.
Yeah.
It helps us in the end. It gives us better stuff.
Well, and that's why AMC, whenever they were building stuff, they were like, well, we don't need to make steering columns. We can just buy them from Chevy.
Yeah.
We don't need to build a power steering pump. We can just buy it from Ford. We could, you know, and AMC has a lot of odd things that are not made in-house.
Yeah, and and it's why reinvent the wheel?
Right.
There's a whatever that works just fine. Can I buy those from you?
Yeah. And GM's like, sure.
Yeah.
So you look, there's the steering column and lock and everything is the same.
Oh yeah,
thing.
and Chrysler had some of the Chryslers had the Saginaw columns as well. Yeah. There's a few of those and then the Saginaw steering made, you know, steering boxes for GM, but I mean they made the Ford ones too. Like the ones that aren't in these Mustangs, it may say Ford on it, but it was made by Saginaw.
Yeah, sure.
And a lot of the stuff was just the way it was back then.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, we're getting close to putting put a stop on this. So
Yep.
I'm going to let you go.
This is not the most comfortable chair in the world.
Well, I'm glad you were here and you checked in and were part of it. So
no problem.
Let me know when you want to come out and get that roof. But we'll catch up with you later. All right. Thanks. Okay. That was cool having Robert on here. It's always good to have input from somebody else besides me all the time and getting some just different information, but good information nonetheless. James says you can put a dual cam Volvo 4-cylinder head on a 2.3 Ford and make over 700 horsepower. That would be interesting. I would like to see that. Chris Greenaway, the mother of better engineering is innovation. Jealousy changed my mind. I like that. And J Living LS Motors was designed by 3 guys and was marketed to Ford, Chevy, and Dodge. Chevy ended up buying it. Oh, interesting. Did not know that. Okay. All right. So as I said, I'm working on a one more video on the Cobra Jet. It'll be part 44, and it will be the rest of the front suspension, the brake rotors, the calipers, the sway bar, the tie rods, all that sort of thing going on the car. And that'll be coming out probably, hopefully tomorrow. I had some delays that just put me behind this week, and it is what it is. But I'm still going to get stuff done. So I want to thank you all for being here, and I do plan to be back next Monday. And I'm giving you a heads up. There's probably going to be towards the end of the month. I'm probably going to miss 2 weeks in a row. Probably going to miss 2 weeks in a row. Just to let you all know. But I will, post something on YouTube stating that, and let you all know. All right. So that'll be it for tonight. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.